Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the life of a figure whose fame was so absolutely astronomical, it honestly kind of defies logic. We are talking about a man whose music reached literally every single corner of the globe, permanently altering the entire landscape of entertainment. You know, millions called him the greatest who ever lived. His music shattered records and his dance moves fundamentally rewired pop culture. But, as we'll see, behind those glittering stage lights was a life filled with intense pressure, profound loneliness, pain, and controversies that still deeply divide people today. We're going to explore that intense, almost cinematic contrast between his dazzling global success and the profound darkness that shadowed his extraordinary life. Part 1. A Stolen Childhood. To really get where this icon came from, we have to go back to his origins in Gary, Indiana. Born in 1958, he shared a modest home with 8 siblings. But his once-in-a-generation talent meant constant rehearsals and just relentless discipline. His father, Joe Jackson, strictly managed the family band, the Jackson 5. But man, this rapid early success came at a steep price. Michael would later describe this period as extremely strict, noting he felt he completely missed out on his youth. While other kids were outside playing, he was rehearsing for hours on end. That intense discipline forged one of the greatest entertainers in history, sure, but it also left deep emotional scars that stayed with him for his entire life. Part 2. The King of Pop. By the late 1970s, Michael officially launched his solo career. All of that grueling childhood discipline, well, it translated directly into explosive, unparalleled musical genius. He wasn't just performing anymore, he was dominating the industry. And then came 1982. He released an album that permanently changed the music industry, Thriller. It didn't just sell well, it completely shattered every conceivable record to become the best-selling album of all time. We are talking about true global phenomena here. Billie Jean, Beat It, Thriller. These weren't just popular songs on the radio, they were massive cultural events. Each track became a sensation, heard and celebrated in literally every nation. He was setting a standard that no one else could even touch. But his impact wasn't limited to just the music. Enter the Moonwalk. It was a single gravity-defying move that changed pop culture forever. When he debuted, it was something nobody had ever seen before. That one singular performance elevated him to an overnight legend. Suddenly, he wasn't just influencing music, he was permanently changing fashion, the art of dance, and the entire medium of music videos. Part 3. The Price of Perfection. However, that level of global visibility comes with a steep cost. As his fame grew to unimaginable heights, so did intense public curiosity, and the tone of his life really began to shift. The public started noticing dramatic, undeniable changes in his physical appearance. Factually, he explained that he suffered from vitiligo, a skin condition that causes the loss of pigmentation, which is what caused his skin to become lighter over time. He also acknowledged having cosmetic surgeries. But despite his explanations, intense speculation about his changing features became a relentless, constant part of media coverage everywhere. So, what was actually happening away from the cameras? He was buckling under intense, crushing pressure to maintain perfection. While the world eagerly watched and speculated about his face, those closest to him saw a man struggling behind the scenes, totally overwhelmed by the constant weight of the world's attention. Part 4. Neverland and Controversies. In the late 1980s, seeking a personal refuge, he bought an enormous property in California and named it Neverland Ranch. It was unlike any private home, complete with its own amusement rides, a working zoo, and massive theme park attractions. Now, there are 2 very distinct ways to look at Neverland. To Michael, it was a magical escape, a direct way to reclaim the childhood he felt he never had. But to the public, it became a center of intense scrutiny that raised serious lingering questions. What started as a private sanctuary eventually morphed into a massive focal point for public suspicion and relentless media attention. And this brings us to a deeply polarizing chapter of his life. During the 1990s and early 2000s, Michael Jackson faced severe child sexual abuse allegations. These allegations received unprecedented, enormous global media coverage. It deeply affected his public image and divided public opinion in ways that remain firmly in place to this very day. Let's look objectively at how this unfolded. The child sexual abuse allegations first received massive media coverage in the 1990s. Then, in 2005, he actually stood trial on criminal charges. After months of testimony, that criminal trial concluded with the jury finding him not guilty on all counts. However, the debate certainly did not end there. Post-2009, following his death, new allegations emerged in various documentaries and public discussions. It is important to note here that his estate has heavily and consistently denied these claims. To this day, opinions remain deeply divided. Supporters point to his court acquittal and the lack of a criminal conviction, while the critics argue serious questions remain.
Part 5, The Final Days. It was 2009. Despite the immense weight of the controversies, Michael was heavily preparing for This Is It, which was highly anticipated to be one of the absolute biggest comeback tours in music history. But the tour never happened. On June 25, 2009, the world shockingly lost the king of pop at age 50. Within hours of the news breaking, stunned fans gathered in cities across the globe. Millions mourned the sudden loss of a man who had been a permanent fixture in their lives for decades. It was a moment of profound worldwide disbelief.
The official medical cause of death was determined to be acute propofol intoxication. This conclusion ultimately led to his personal physician's legal conviction for involuntary manslaughter. It was a tragic, abrupt end to a deeply complex life.
Part 6, An Enduring Legacy.
When we step back and look at the whole picture, his story is entirely unique. We see a dual legacy, the unmatched transformation of global entertainment set directly against the backdrop of continuous, intense debate. Extraordinary fame creates extraordinary achievements and extraordinary challenges. His life is undeniable proof of how someone can completely inspire generations of artists, transform popular culture, fashion, and dance, while simultaneously living a heavily scrutinized, painful, and complicated existence. The king of pop may be gone, but his influence continues to echo absolutely everywhere.
Which leaves us with a final provocative question to think about. Can history remember someone as entirely a hero or entirely a villain? It's a highly complex thought to walk away with. His music still plays everywhere, his achievements are unparalleled, yet his legacy is still fiercely debated. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning how modern history judges the icons who change our world.